And action. Hey everyone, my name is Colin Goldberg, and we're here at Techspressionist Salon number 92, which is called Breaking AI. Today is Thursday, March 6th, 2025, and I'm zooming in from North Bennington, Vermont. We have a very wide range of people here in the salon, and we have four artists presenting. So it's going to be basically on AI and how the presenting artists incorporate AI into their studio practices. So I'm going to give a quick introduction for those who might be here for your very first salon, or for people who are watching this as a recording on YouTube. Just a little background on what a Techspressionist salon is. So the salons are a time and place in cyberspace where artists can gather once a month to share their work and to discuss matters relating to art, philosophy, and technology. The meetups were conceived of as a modern counterpart to the surrealist salons of the 1920s, in which artists could meet informally to socialize and to discuss ideas. Techspressionism is a 100% volunteer-based international artist community. We're not an organization in any kind of real sense of the word. I like to think of Techspressionism as an ism, which is very vague, but kind of the antithesis of an organization. The first salon was held on September 1st, 2020, and included myself, Patrick Lichty, Steve Miller, and Oz Van Rosen, all of whom are artists in the community, as well as art historian Helen Harrison. So Helen, in 1990, after serving as curator of the Parish Art Museum in Southampton, New York, director of the Public Art Preservation Committee in Manhattan, and curator of Guildhall Museum in East Hampton, became director of the Pollock Krasner House and Study Center, which is a National Historic Landmark Museum and the former home of abstract expressionists Jackson Pollock and Lee Krasner. And she served as director of the PK House until from 1990 until retiring this past year. And she continues to serve in an advisory role to the community and is, a great asset to the project. She's been a real guiding light. So during the first salon session, the working definition of Techspressionism was decided upon by the participants as an artistic approach in which technology is utilized as a means to express emotional experience. Artist Devonte Bradley, aka Davo, proposed the idea of recording the salons and publishing them on a YouTube channel, which was implemented starting with the salon number 8, and that was recorded on January 5th, 2021. So since then, we're now at salon number 92, which is pretty remarkable. So the salons are moderated by a rotating panel of artist volunteers. And after the recording ends, again, you guys are welcome to hang out for this after party, aka the advisory board. It's kind of tongue in cheek, in which the topic for the next salon is often decided upon and other community related ideas are discussed. So that's my spiel about what is a salon. Now we're going to move on into the good stuff, which is the presentations by the artists. And we have four artists presenting here today on this topic of AI. And I also want to note that the salon itself was curated by Renata Janiszewska, who is unable to be with us today. She was dealing with some medical issues, so she contacted me this morning, asked me if I would moderate. So she is responsible for selecting the artists and working with them on preparing, their materials and so forth. So kudos to Renata for coming up with this idea and putting it together. So the artists presenting today are Ariel Baron-Robbins, Systaime, Michael Price, and Randi Matsushevitz. And each artist is going to be given 10 minutes to present their work. And we're going to hold the questions until the end after all artists have presented. So before each artist presents, I'm just going to read a little bit of a background so you guys will know something about each one of them. Our first presenter is Ariel Baron-Robbins, who is an interdisciplinary artist and academic specializing in digital media and drawing. She teaches animation at Florida International University as a visiting associate teaching professor and holding an MFA in Interdisciplinary Studies from the University of South Florida. She has over a decade of experience teaching drawing and digital art in South Florida and has exhibited her artwork widely. She's integrating generative artificial intelligence into her intermediate animation, advanced animation, and story development courses. She requires students to use GAN programs in the classroom for creating animations and to assist with conceptualization and research. She recorded live on X and for a podcast during her intermediate/advanced class in 2024 with artist and podcaster WizPill titled Animation and AI, Skills and Tools of the Future Taught in Universities. She has recently participated in a panel at FIU's Radcliffe Incubator Space titled Before and After, where she discussed and demonstrated the impact of using generative AI. Additionally, she was featured in a discussion with Stephanie Tripp from the University of Tampa titled Discussion with Curated AI, NFTs, Art, and the Metaverse, held at Tempest Projects in Tampa, Florida. So without further ado, I will hand the mic over to Ariel.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, no. Shh. Okay, sorry. I'm in front of a college classroom right now, just so you know. And so thank you so much for that, Colin. That was long. 10 minutes is not that short. So I'm going to start sharing my desktop. Okay. So yes, all of that was true. I've had a very interdisciplinary focus when it comes to my artwork. You can find me, this is my website right here, where you can draw. I would say one of the major things between all that connects all of my artwork together is an interest in process and the process of making work. Right now, I'm actually doing a couple different projects. One's with AI, so I'm going to show mostly that, but I also want to talk about Loop Art Critique, which is I run this place, I created it, and it's a place for artists to come together and in small groups, have a 6-week-long series of art critiques. So kind of like a residency, but it's really just sort of a gathering of a small group of people. And then there's an exhibition, and Renata has been a part of it, and Joey and a couple other people here, and actually Patrick Leahy is in it right now. So I didn't even know that about him being part of Techspressionist. So I guess we have a whole thing. Anyway, so I just wanted to show, and this is actually all about process. Loop is an artwork. It's not a for-profit. It's not a nonprofit. It's an artwork. It exists on its own and literally contains people talking about their processes and also people working on works in process and showing them to each other and getting feedback. So it's a feedback space. To talk about what I'm doing with AI right now, I'm going to switch over to where I have where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay. So I love technology, obviously, and I have been interested in working with AI for a long time. Let me see if this is actually going to work. Yeah. But I first came from like a video art perspective. So I was a drawer and painter, and then I became like a video artist who really liked like 1970s video art, and did a lot of work that looks sort of like that. And then I decided a couple of years ago that I wanted to try to recreate these old video pieces using AI to see what would happen. And also because I knew the AI would kind of get it wrong, and I was interested in how it would process, how it would process the process that I was doing. It's hard to talk about. So this is a piece I made for my graduate exhibition for my MFA, which I got from University of South Florida. And it's a picture of me attempting to draw my own shadow, but you can't see any lines. I'm using white chalk. And can you guys please, I'm sorry, I'm live. Please keep it down. Sorry. And I'm trying to draw my own shadow. It's a Sisyphean task. I can't do it, of course. I'm wrestling with it. It's impossible to do. So then I recreated that piece in 2015. This will make sense, I promise. And my plan is, and still is, to recreate these pieces. I have like, I don't know, about 3 pieces, 4 pieces that I'm going to recreate until I just kind of physically can't recreate it anymore, right? So I plan to do one, in 10 years, maybe another 5 years. I'm not going to stick to a strict schedule because I can never do that, but it's kind of it's going to be a lifelong work until I have these recreations all up together. So I have this one. And so this one, I was like, well, I'm going to recreate it using AI, and so this is the first one I did. And this is when mainly it was, the time period was mainly text to video, right? So it didn't really have a lot of image to video AIs. So this is all text to video. And I wanted to also use as many different AI models as possible, and to leave in the watermarks, because to me, the watermarks and all of that was going to be like a way of documenting this time that we have right now, right? And the actual technology and how good it is or how bad it is and all of those things. So here is this one. And this one is deliberately bad quality, by the way. So some of the quality is all over the place with the different models, the different programs. And by the way, a lot of these, I also wanted to see how they would treat like the female body, because there's a lot of bias that comes into AI, and how they would try to interpret it. Some do amazingly interesting, weird things. Of course, all of them are, conventionally attractive and white, even though I didn't specify a race in the prompt, because of the bias. So I did that project, and I did the same thing to another one. So this is an old, I think this is from 2000 and I probably 10, 11 or something like that, around that time period. I have it. And it's me doing an invisible drawing on the High Line. Actually, it's when the High Line first began in New York City. So it's right that time period. And I'm drawing what I'm seeing, but of course you can't see it. And so I did this piece, and it's low quality because I didn't really have the finances to get a better one. And so then I recreated it in 2023 and got to pretty much the exact same spot as far as I could tell, and just did the exact same kind of silly thing. And to me, it's like, what is it? Because I'm obsessed with drawing. It's kind of like, what is a drawing? To me, a drawing is in a way always incomplete. And I don't know. I have a very like romantic, possibly, or even like religious thing about drawing in particular, and about the process of doing it and drawing with both my hands. Because also I like the figure, and I like, the way that it looks as well, of course, on the frame itself. I'm definitely a formalist. So I have this one, and then I had this. Now this is when we got more video to video AI and image to image AI. So I could do it a little bit more close to the actual, visuals. So this is great. This was in a show in 2024. So now I'm recreating them, and it's changed significantly since the last time I tried to do the recreation, which I think was in 2022. Still some messed up, stuff. And, I'm not using necessarily top of the line. But, I've gradually actually bought, some credits, not use the free versions.
You have about 2 minutes left, Ariel.
Okay. Yeah. And so I'm putting them together. So also I have some rules when it comes to these projects, and the rules, because I'm very into fluxus and things like that, which is my rule is that, I do the generation. I try to stick to the first run through, and not repeat and repeat and repeat, because I just want to get the raw output of what it's doing. So in a way, I'm like kind of like co-constructing it and with the AI, and I'm allowing the AI to have a lot of autonomy in this process. I created the whole video, so I've had a lot to do with it. But the AI also has a lot to do with it at the end, because I'm only running it once. I'm not necessarily making the decision by running it over and over and over again to control it that way, if that makes sense. So this is my most recent one, and it's from an old video of me rolling down hills. So I did this whole thing where I was like dressed in white, rolling down hills, many different types of hills. And this is from probably like 2013 or so. So here's the updated version. One's missing. There's one that I just did, and then I'm going to do the last one. So this is my last one, and I just got done with this like yesterday. So world premiere. And so this is the most recent. And of course, the quality is, I think, actually better. Is really sticking closely to like actually the background and everything. This one was mostly image with a prompt. The prompt didn't say anything about the race or the color of the hair of the woman. It just said a woman. Just so I'm still sort of testing exactly what it's going to do. This one was very interesting because it turned me wearing white to me wearing a wedding dress or a poofy dress like that. Yeah. So, okay. But time is running out. Like I said, I'm in front of a college classroom, unfortunately. So if you have any questions, I put my email in the chat. And thank you so much to the Techspressionist for inviting me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ariel. Really interesting presentation. And I can definitely relate with that first run thing. That's kind of the philosophy with these salons, is they're almost never edited. They go straight to YouTube from the Zoom recording. So there's all sorts of interesting happenings and mishaps, which is all part of the art. Definitely Warhol's tradition as well in his filmmaking. Just let it run. So the next presenter that we have is Systaime, who is zooming in from France, I believe. I know you're from France originally. So if you want to just say hello, and then I actually have a recording of his that Renata sent me this morning. That's about 7.5 minutes. So that's going to play in its entirety. And but first, I just wanted to introduce Systaime. And actually, you know what? I have a little brief intro. Almost forgot. So Systaime offers explosive mashups of internet aesthetics, where information, images, and comments provide a frame of today's digital pop culture. The artist remixes web images and uses an audiovisual spectacle to display the patterns dominating the internet, its icons, its manifestations, and its digital prosperity. We are the lucky spectators of what he presents to us. Systaime has been a French contemporary digital artist since 1999, founder of French Trash Touch, 1995, founder of Systaime, 1999, founder of Spam, that's with 2 M's, 2011. He's a pioneer of net art, digital art, and glitch. So with that, I give you Systaime.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for this invitation. Maintenant, je vais parler en français. Je pense que c'est traduit. Donc, merci pour cette invitation. Je suis ravi d'être avec vous et ravi d'être avec des artistes de ce niveau. Voilà, ça sera la partie humaine. Maintenant, je vais laisser l'intelligence artificielle faire le reste du travail.
All right. Well, I didn't understand that, but apparently we have captioning enabled. So when it comes time to do the Q&A, there is an option down at the bottom, show captions, which as long as you select English, it should translate in real time what Systaime is saying in French. I should have probably prefaced that with that. But at any rate, that is something that we have in effect on all the salons moving forward. Big ups to Cynthia Beth Rubin for, researching this technology and helping to implement it. Super useful, especially for the co-working sessions, which happen every week, and artists from all around the world get together and just spend time, synchronous time, working together and doing crits and all sorts of other fun stuff. So there's info on that on the Techspressionism homepage. So without further ado, I am going to share my screen and play Systaime's video, which is about 7.5 minutes. So here we go. Can you guys see my screen okay? Okay.
Yeah.
I break through circuits on the digital throne. You know who's ruling it. I recycle my waste, yeah, I'm in the business. I make dirt clean, bro, call me finesse. I smoke motherboards, put the chip in my life.
I am Michael Boraz, also known as Systaime. Since the mid-1990s, I have explored the digital realm, relentlessly questioning our hyper-connected society and its absurdities. My artistic journey, positioned at the intersection of art and technology, has led me to experiment with diverse media and techniques as technology evolves. Early in my career, I played a key role in the French trash touch, a movement marked by a raw, provocative aesthetic that sought to deconstruct established codes. This period embraced a DIY approach, where mashups, collages, and sampling repurposed visual and sound fragments from the web and obsolete objects, challenging our relationship with media and technology. With the rise of generative AI, a new era of digital art emerged. AI, now accessible without extensive technical know-how, offers unprecedented creative possibilities. For me, AI is an additional tool in my palette. It automates tasks, generates endless variations, and helps explore new forms. Yet, artistic intent remains paramount. I set the rules, guide the process, and decide the outcome. My recent projects illustrate this approach. In albums like Crypto Kikta and Lamavasai, I used algorithms to create rhythmic patterns and sound textures, later reworked into unique compositions. In the music video Swimming Pool Free Party, AI produced extravagant visual effects that enhanced its offbeat aesthetic. Similarly, Electro Mukbang analyzes online food consumption videos, critiquing our dependence on technology and consumer culture. Reflection on AI and artistic creation. The use of AI in art has sparked debates about authenticity and human intention. I believe art is defined by its ideas, messages, and emotions. AI enriches the creative process, but it is vital for the artist to remain in control, ensuring that technology serves the vision, not vice versa. At comparison with collage art, AI continues the tradition of collage, a practice dating back to the avant-garde. Artists have long cut, assembled, and repurposed pre-existing elements to create new meanings. Like traditional collages that recontextualize images, generative AI draws from vast databases to mix and transform fragments into novel creations. While manual collages bear the mark of each crafted gesture, AI often works as a black box, raising questions about originality and the artist's role. Nonetheless, as with any art form, intention matters most. It is how the tool is used to evoke meaning and emotion that counts. In conclusion, AI presents unprecedented opportunities to redefine artistic creation. As an artist, my role is to explore these new frontiers, question their implications, and produce works that mirror the transformations of our digital society. AI is a powerful tool, but it is the artist who imbues it with soul, direction, and meaning. enabling us to reinvent 21st century art by merging human ingenuity with machine power.
All right. Yeah, that was amazing. Renata let me know that it would end very abruptly. But really incredible work. Very happy to have you on here. I'm a fan. I've been following your work on social media, and especially the recent work with Elon Musk and Trump and the world leaders, Zuckerberg. I mean, it's just remarkably well done, I think. And it's very it's nice to see that there's some people capable of pulling off a deep fake that are on our side. So at any rate, so we will move on, but we will open it up to questions after all four artists are done presenting. So next up, we have Michael Pierre Price, who works from his home studio in Phoenix, Arizona, creating his digital art prints that are primarily inspired by the intersection of modern physics, neuroscience, and spirituality. He often uses mathematics, specialized software, and AI when he creates his abstract, algorithmic, and surrealist art. So with that, I'm going to hand the mic over to Michael.
Thanks, Colin. Let me go ahead here and do screen share. Okay. So here's my title. So I think that I love Renata's title of Breaking AI because that's my mode in which I work with it. And how I mean that is AI is not my wedding photographer, it's my autistic Sherpa. And what I mean by that is the normal mode of using AI is to use text prompts for creating singular images, and realizing that most people are doing this from a standpoint of narrowing down a fine-tuned target so that when they create images, they're within a small parameter of sets that is reflective of this targeted text prompt. I find that boring. I don't like that at all. For me, my mode of working with AI is what I call my explorer mode. And if you use this image here that I created with AI as sort of my analogy, the way I think about working with AI is in this image here, you see that there's a mountain or a butte in the distance. And conceptually, what I'm asking the AI as my autistic Sherpa is to help me get to the far side of that mountain. I don't know what's back there. It may be something really, really fantastic. It may be really awful. I don't know, but I'm exploring and I want to get there in some way. So the way that I use text prompts and images, I'm dealing with conceptual ideas. I'm dealing with paradox and questions that I have that I'm trying to get answers for, but I don't have a preconceived notion of what that is. So me as the artist working with AI, I consider myself brainstorming, where the AI is again, my Sherpa that's helping collaborate with me to get to the things that I'm striving for. And because my normal subject matter that I like to explore are rather heady subjects that are often very conceptual and abstract, like modern physics, consciousness, spirituality. The art styles that to me are very reflective of that are abstract, algorithmic, and surrealist. And my motivation as an artist is having studied physics, astrophysics, and been a practicer of indigenous spirituality and an amateur neuroscientist in terms of learning things, is that the world really is not as it seems to our normal everyday existence. We're made out of atoms. We only exist here because stars lived and died, and we have the universe literally constituent matter within us. And so trying to look at that and what it means, the way that I work with AI is I try to challenge the concreteness of AI through the richness and the ambiguities that are in language. Now, my collaborator likes to deal with photographic-like images. That's the most natural way that most of the AI software has been set up for. And it likes concrete things. It wants to deal with objects and actions and setting. And so it's looking for specific instructions to help it understand that. When I come in and using language in ways that it might not be ready for, I'm challenging it. Now, overall, this process of exploring is one in which I, as an artist, create tons of images, lots and lots of images. And if you think about it, the way I approach this rather systematically would be almost like a family tree, a hierarchy of parent images, then creating child images, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Or if you were to look at the evolutionary scale of life here on Earth, you see the branching structure. Now, with creating lots of images, it doesn't mean that I use them all. I use a very small percentage of ones that I find interesting to me. And those are the ones here in this chart that I've put a green square around them. So I upscale them and I save them to my hard drive. And even those that I save to my computer, only a small percentage of those end up being, good enough for me to use as finished art pieces or parts of finished art pieces. And that's my methodology. It's sort of, an outgrowth from my scientific background days. So I wanted to share how I created, or what was behind creating the first two images in my presentation today. And the genesis for those images, of which I'm going to show several others beyond that, was this idea of infinity divided by infinity equals nothing at all. This concept, rather abstract concept, was actually spurred from an old Jethro Tull song from their album Minstrel in the Gallery. It was like 0 to the power of 10 equals nothing at all. And then I prompted, this is the prompt that I put here. And then this next one, the one that followed it, is actually a grandchild image of the same lineage that first image that I just showed you there. And then there was an offshoot as I continued to create more images, that this particular piece here from that I'm showing you, all the same prompts, but the way that I've created the prompt and challenged the AI, I'm getting some really interesting imagery. Next, this next image, I changed the second part of the prompt from a mathematical surrealist piece to a surrealist landscape. And the idea of landscape now, all of a sudden you can see there's a tree in this image, but you're still seeing some of the other characteristics from the other lineages in this brand new lineage here. And the final one that I wanted to show you from here brought in now this idea of still life to this idea of infinity divided by infinity equals 0 or equals nothing at all. Now, and on the side here, I've indicated that in this whole entire set of images that I created with this idea of infinity, I created 532 images. I've saved like 58, and I created 7 lineages in total. I just wanted to let you see sort of behind the scenes of my methodology of how I work with the AI. And then the image here and the other one that were the backdrops for my previous diagrams, I just wanted to share how I created them. Again, looking at the prompt here, I also had a reference image that I used from one of my other previous works. And then this one, here's the prompt. And then I used 3 images to blend together. Now in Midjourney, which is what I use, this idea of blending images is really a key factor for a lot of the work that I do, because what it allows me, and I'm showing you in this image and the next one, is that I actually use some of my older fractal images, 3D fractal images that I created with Mandelbulb 3D. So I could take images that were created in a different software, use AI then to create an amalgam of images that are fusions of a different way of which I generated my own art. Currently, I'm working on some ideas that are representative of some really key ideas within modern physics, especially subatomic physics. So I'm just sharing a few here. And what's really interesting here is I wanted to share this quote from Niels Bohr, who 100 years ago was a founding member of quantum mechanics. And what's really important here is to realize the esoteric spiritual quality that a lot of the physicists who came up with and were pioneers of quantum mechanics realized that there is an unreal aspect to the reality of quantum mechanics. And it's really fascinating. The next series of images are really foundational for me in the way that I work because they tackle big questions that I have about what's the nature of reality in the universe, and are there things hidden in the fabric of reality that we as human beings are struggling to try to find out? Is everything in the universe true? Can the universe lie to us? We as human beings lie to one another. Is there any sense of diversion, or where does the origin of paradox come from? And those are sorts of things that I'm looking at when I work on a lot of my images. And so if the next series here are sort of tackling that.
Michael, we're just about at time. Sorry, I forgot.
Okay. All right. I'll whiz through here really quickly then. And these images here were for me of the universe ever becoming. It's the sense of potential actualized. And these are recent images that I actually have up on my website, which were generated by AI. And this final one here is an homage to Salvador Dali and René Magritte with the burning giraffe smoking the pipe. And so I'll end it there. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Michael. Definitely very interesting to see the diversity of how you use AI, and then how all of the other artists presenting have used AI. So really pretty cool. So the next and final presenter is Randi Matsushevitz, who is an American multidisciplinary artist based in Los Angeles. Her installations, paintings, mixed media drawings, and videos have been exhibited and collected nationally and internationally. Her artwork is found in the permanent collections of the Museum of Art and History in Lancaster, California, the Cleveland Clinic, Las Vegas Art Museum at the Marjorie Barrick Museum of Art, University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and Enter Art Foundation in Berlin. So without further ado, I will pass the mic on to Randi.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Okay, here we go. Let me share this. And let's share some, optimize for, okay, it only gives the weight. Okay. So I wanted to start by saying I am interested in contemporary portraiture, and what I have been doing is feeding my paintings into AI. So here's this painting here on the left, and this is an example of the variety of things that I will get here in this, to start us off in this PDF I've created. So I'm very interested in the fact that the paintings and the interpretation from different photo and video apps, editing apps, will create a variety of textures, genders, shapes, holding actual marks from the paintings, create crooked teeth, like the mistakes, as the first presenter was saying. So this is an overview of the variety of mistakes and broad results I can get. So here, to start with a painting, and then here's a few different interpretations. What's really exciting to me is that I never know if I'm going to get something that's that I never know what I'm going to get and how I'm going to use it. So here I'm combining some old and new techniques to show in a video with sound that I put together. So using the regular painting and introducing the AI imagery that I then animate. So that's some of what you're seeing here. What's really cool about this for me, and I was originally told I was only getting 5 minutes, so I made a very short presentation, is that, again, to show how I go from painting to multiple interpretations. This painting, Coiffed, turned into not only this older woman, this man, through, without me commanding it to change gender or race, but through just setting. And I can, of course, control the facial expressions. These are the same root paintings. And eventually to this idea of how I can take one painting and give you several settings and images for them, and then turn them, animate them, and turn them into video. So here I've combined live film shots of a road trip with these characters to create this unreal sense of feeling, and as if they were real. Another aspect of my practice with this work is using things like Art Breeder, where I combine 3 and 4 paintings to create an image. And this is working with the similar 3 and 4 paintings. And this is another image that I put together. So I think it's very interesting how the AI will allow me to take a simple painting. Again, this is just to go back and forth, this painting, some different setting, right? To, again, creating a whole other section of her. And these are some video stills. And here is that video. And there's no sound on this one. So then again, using all these different apps to enhance the animation and create these characters. So when I do this, like in my photo stream, for example, these characters will, there are tons of them. And I save to like a little bit of what Michael was revealing. You can get like, there's all these different options to choose to save them to. I just want you to see how it works. And then you pick the best ones, of course. And so that's my presentation. I was told it was going to be really short. So I just wanted to show a few of what I was doing.
All right. Thanks so much, Randi. Really interesting to see this work. And I think the last work of yours that I really looked at was when I was curating the show in Southampton, and I saw those animations and portraits that you'd created for that. So I could definitely see the continuity and the evolution of things. It's really interesting.
What's really interesting about the AI is that I can get anthropomorphic imagery. So some of those are on my website, where I can make plant human characters. Like, you know, it's unknown what I'll get. And I feel it's a collaboration. I'm not controlling it on any level. And it's that mixture of what my painting, and then all the interpretations and the reinterpretations, as Michael was saying, and the 100th version. And then you find the one that, you know, did something unusual.
Mm-hmm.
Unrealism, as he said.
Yeah, I think I've heard a lot of artists, describe the process of working with AI as a collaboration, which I think, is very apropos. So each of the artists has, I have links to their Instagram and website on the Salon page, which is at techspressionism.com/salon. So there's a description of the various artists in this salon with links to their social media and websites. So if you guys want to check out more of their work and follow them, you can do that. I also, as sort of a side note, I didn't anticipate moderating, but I've personally been using AI, Midjourney in particular, to create the salon graphics. So this is the current one. And I think it's kind of interesting. Like I started working with AI really in the capacity of creating these promotional graphics for the salons, which is based on the topic of the salon. So the majority of them from, I would say 50, these were sort of photo montages, and then it starts going into images that were created with AI after that. So the last maybe 40 or so salon graphics were created with, in collaboration with Midjourney. That is to say, there was quite a bit of post-processing and retouching and stuff like that after the prompting. And I just thought it would be interesting just to show you guys real quick. So this was the original prompt for this image, which was a photorealistic image in the Techspressionist style of a humanoid female robot in a painting video, painting a self-portrait while looking in a mirror that shows the reflection of a female artist. So like Ariel was saying, the bias is immediately, white, blonde, thin, female. And then, I sort of played around with the prompting, trying different things. You could see, if you guys are familiar at all with Midjourney, it generates 4 different options. Then you can pick one and keep iterating and changing stuff. And then at some point, I thought, well, the topic is breaking AI. So how about we change it up? Artists should be African-American and holding a paintbrush while facing a robot that looks like her. Okay, so there's the biased stereotypical African-American female artist that Midjourney came up with. And then at one point, I thought this was very interesting. It just made this other individual appear, and that was no prompt that created that. And I was like, that's kind of creepy. Like they just made this dude come in there into the scene. And now he's just kind of like lurking in the background, like checking out what's going on. And I just thought it was very interesting how, that just came about, that little piece of sort of drama in the image just came about on its own, which I thought was a little bit weird. But anyway, I wasn't really intending on showing anything, but I thought that was kind of a little bit of a backstory of the Salon image. So I wanted to just open it up to questions for the artists. If you guys want to just use if anyone has a question, I would encourage you to use the raise hand tool, which is, where is that? It's on the bottom. They keep moving that around. Or you could just like literally raise your hand. But the raise hand tool kind of works. Okay, I see somebody. Sherry, do you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, all of you have just amazing images, really mind-boggling, and I loved all of it. My question is specifically though to Michael. Do you ever actually print any of these out as a photograph, or do you ever paint any of them? Because I could see many of them as actual oil paintings.
So I print the vast majority of the work that I do is for print. And I do have a printer here. And so that is one of the challenges, is that typically working with AI natively, you get pretty small images overall, usually like HD size, like 1920 by 1024, something like that. And if I'm trying to print something like a 20 by 30 inch print, then I have to do the whole upscaling trickery that's involved, which can be rather challenging. So, and then the other thing that I've more recently been doing is looking at creating images for modern digital display. And those are at 4K. So like 3840 by 2160. But most of the work that I'm doing is with the intention for printing. And so there's a whole set of steps that I have to go through. And it's really deceiving sometimes. Something looks good, nice on screen, but once you start blowing it up, then you see all kinds of really bad imperfections and you have to deal with it one way or the other. At least I want to, because I do like them looking like they're painted images in a lot of cases. I tend to stay away from highly photographic looking images, just because that's just my personal aesthetic.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks to both of you. So I did discover where this raise hand tool is. On the bottom, you should see a little heart icon that says react. If you tap that, there's a button there, raise hand. So that's how you do it. So I see there's a hand up, Anton. You're muted.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Let me put down the hand. Okay, yeah, first of all, it was really amazing showcase. I really enjoyed all the works from Systaime, Michael and Randi. I was really surprised and like blown away. Really enjoyed it, everything. So I also work with AI a bit, and the main problem for me is curating the ideas and the outputs. So I would like to hear from you artists, how do you curate? How do you how do you stay focused on the idea, or you just exploring? And so what's your take on curating the outputs? Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So who would like to answer this first out of the artists that are still here? Do you want to, Randi, you want to?
Sure. So how do you curate what you show, you mean? Like what you choose to present to the world?
Yeah. I mean, like, for example, at first you have one idea, then it's developing, but all the way through you need to curate all the outputs, right? And then you need to go to like finish line, and so yeah. So I just
So
want to know, how do you do?
So for
Yeah.
me, it's a lot of gut instinct. It's what I read. The more I work with the tools, whether, like I said, it's video apps or Art Reader or Mid-Journey, or you have choices, it's a very quick, I save everything. And then, but really, the longer I work with it, because I started working with it back in November with AI in this way, then you get used to certain things it produces, and then you challenge it. So you experiment. And the ones, when you look back, like when I look back at my photo stream of what I've saved, certain ones just stand out. They're interesting to me. They hold up, like in anything with the art, and that's the one I go with. And if it gets too boring, sometimes I just start over with the images. Like if I'm not getting something I'm interested in to save, I'll do a different combination. I just see what happens. Some days there's a lot of blah, and other days it's like, wow, this is really a good role. I have to save everything I'm working on and look at it again later. And I just, like I said, I go with my gut. Well,
Great. So Stem, we haven't heard from you yet. Would you like to answer? And first of all, would you like to answer in English or in French? Because it's up to you. If you want to try French and we could try out the captions, that would be a good test maybe. Okay, you want to do that? So for all the viewers here, if you click down to the bottom, there's an icon with CC to show captions. you should be able to see the captions, and then I believe you select a language. I had already selected English, but I'm seeing captions now on my screen. Yeah,
Can I
after
just interrupt for a second? You need to click on translation at the top of the show captions and then pick the language. And for those people who understand French, you have the choice of, most people, it's the same language, English, English, but you can make it different languages if you want to read one and speak the other. Okay. And I have a guide that I put way up, and it's also, you can just, I'll put it in again if you're having trouble. Okay.
Yeah, and on the Salon page too, techspressionism.com/salon, there is a link to the instructions that Cynthia made there as well. So, but at any rate, this will be our first live test. So, Systaime, go ahead.
Ok, en français. En fait, je crois que le travail d'un artiste, c'est de savoir quand il commence et de savoir quand il s'arrête, en fait. Dans la peinture, c'est pareil, on commence une peinture. Et en fait, être artiste, c'est savoir dire j'arrête parce que j'estime que à partir de maintenant, l'œuvre que je voulais, elle est réalisée. Et donc, je crois qu'avec l'intelligence artificielle, c'est la même chose. Et on peut aussi faire un rapprochement avec les erreurs de l'intelligence artificielle, avec le glitch art. Tout à l'heure, tu parlais des erreurs de l'intelligence artificielle. Et pour moi, ça peut s'apparenter aussi au glitch art. Et on est parfois surpris et ces erreurs vont nous amener dans une autre direction, tout comme dans la peinture, quand on peint quelque chose et puis on va faire une tâche et finalement, cette tâche va amener à une autre fin. Et en fait, je crois qu'être artiste, c'est dire, voilà, à cet instant-là, je décide de commencer d'utiliser tel ou tel outil et à ce moment-là, je décide d'arrêter le processus, en fait. I don't know if that works, but I try.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it worked. That's actually
It
really
works. Yeah, thank you.
amazing. Yeah, this is this is definitely, I feel like you know, a landmark moment in the salons because we have mass well, I don't know if I could call it mass, but we have adoption of this translation stuff, which is really cool. So another advantage of being here live in real time is that I don't think it's going to work for YouTubers out there.
Et j'aimerais parler d'autre chose, si c'est possible. On parle souvent de l'arrivée de l'intelligence artificielle. Est-ce que c'est de l'art? Est-ce que c'est pas de l'art? Est-ce que ça va remplacer l'humain, etc. Et moi, je pense qu'en fait, l'usage de l'intelligence artificielle, tout comme au moment où Photoshop est arrivé ou d'autres évolutions, en fait, c'est juste un outil et que finalement, ces outils ne vont pas du tout dévaloriser le travail humain, mais au contraire, vont le valoriser. C'est-à-dire que le fait qu'on puisse faire des choses avec l'intelligence artificielle va faire que ça va valoriser de plus en plus les anciennes techniques, le travail fait à la main, la peinture faite par un humain. Donc peut-être que dans le futur, on vendra des peintures, mais on demandera la preuve réelle de voir l'artiste en train de le peindre. Ça sera une preuve en plus d'authentification. Et donc, je trouve qu'on vit une époque qui est géniale. Tous ces outils sont fabuleux à partir du moment où on les utilise en conscience, en sachant pourquoi on les utilise, en sachant ce que ça implique. Alors, par rapport à l'intelligence artificielle, savoir aussi les dégâts écologiques que ça peut créer. J'essaie un petit peu d'en parler dans mon travail, en tout cas de soulever ces problématiques. Et aussi la problématique des gens qui entraînent les intelligences artificielles, qui sont souvent exploités financièrement, mais aussi soumis à avoir de nombreuses vidéos pour les modérer, qui sont aussi exploités mentalement. Et je pense que ces sujets-là, il faut aussi en parler, c'est-à-dire utiliser ces outils-là pour aussi parler de ce que ces outils font.
Colin, I just wanted to add one more thing to because of the way that I work, I'm actually trying to elicit surprise from the AI. And that obviously gives me a lot of like not really good images, but I start to see little things here and there. And I think that's kind of what Randi was alluding to as well. You get used to how the tool works. And I can see something start to emerge. And I think that could be kind of interesting. How can I pull out more from there? And I think that's for me, that's really why I enjoy working with AI in the way that I'm working with it, is because I'm not trying to dictate a final result. I'm trying to elicit whatever is in that black box to look at things in really different ways that I wouldn't necessarily think on my own, but my input is there in the mix. And so that's where that sense of collaborator is really important. And I think you just I think Randi was right. You just sort of recognize this is a kernel. This is something really, really good here. And that's kind of where, how I would answer Anton's question from my standpoint.
Thank you.
Awesome. Just out of curiosity, Anton, where are you zooming in from?
Right now, I'm zooming from Moscow. We came back here in December due to personal reasons. And yeah, before we were in Georgia, Tbilisi. So yeah, so now in Moscow. Don't know, maybe until summer or longer. Not sure yet. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I had a feeling. It's another thing about this group that's really, really incredible to me is to see people come together from all over the world. And Cynthia Rubin, who helped, implement these captions, is actually organizing a Techspressionism show in Uzbekistan, which is going to be happening in the fall. And a good number of artists in the group, American artists, I believe all of them are American, are going to be traveling over there. And that is also totally mind-blowing to me, the scope of what's been going on with this community. So it's very humbling to be part of this project. And I would also encourage the individual artists who presented, if you guys have any questions for any of the other artists who presented, that might also be an interesting direction to take the conversation. But I do see Lee has his hand up there, so I'll give him first dibs. Randi, did you have another question, or
I just wanted to add to what Systaime was saying, that it's about the ethical use of AI because it's here. It's here in our language. It's everywhere, and I do see it as a tool also. So I just wanted to add that in.
Okay. Lee, do you have a question? And if you do, let us know who specifically you might be asking it to, or if it's for all of the artists.
It's really for everyone. Listening to all the artists and to you, Colin, as someone who doesn't use AI, I was fascinated that your comments took me back to about 1959 with a movie called Forbidden Planet, in which these space travelers are using a computer, and they discover that even though they aren't thinking of monsters, the computer finds the monsters in their id and brings it forward, like the strange man that appeared in your designs, Colin.
So is there a specific question that you have for the artist?
Yeah, it's a suggestion more than a question, that you're just using language to give instructions to AI, and it analyzes how you present that language, and it can decipher what you might really be seeking.
Well, I just want to answer really quickly, just from my own standpoint, that the second part of the collaboration really is that when the artist receives the result, it then is curated by the artist. So there's the creation of the prompt, the machine gives back its output, and then it's up to the artist to decide, well, yeah, I want to show this one to the world, or I'm going to choose this out of the four. So I actually had a recent conversation where I was using AI tools in a commercial capacity, and it got to the point that, part of the audience actually, there was an uprising about it. They said, start a change.org petition. We don't want, AI to be used in presenting our whatever it is. I don't need to get into it, but and I thought it was really interesting, and this conversation plays into it, hearing from artists how, it's a tool, and more specifically, it's a way that people are looking inward, and finding things out that, maybe aesthetically and ideologically they wouldn't have thought of just from scratch. So at any rate, you guys want to respond to that?
En fait, je crois qu'à partir du moment où il y a une évolution technologique ou autre, c'est le rôle des artistes de s'en emparer et de l'utiliser, de la détourner, de la comprendre. Pour la comprendre, la détourner, il faut avant tout l'aimer et l'utiliser pour lui faire dire autre chose que ce que la majorité des gens lui font dire en l'utilisant. Je ne sais pas si c'est très clair.
I mean, Colin, I think it's a real interactive process. Yes, there's the receiving of, the images, but what's also interesting is what's presented. I can interpret those images in a very different way than somebody else might interpret those images. And it's my interpretation then that says, okay, I want to run with this one or these because I'm feeling or I'm sensing this, and that goes from there. So it's really that human AI interaction that's at play. It's like, somebody hears a piece of music, and for some person, they hear noise, and somebody else gets inspired. And I think as artists, and for me as somebody who really thrives on experimentation and exploration, I'm trying my best to elicit something outside of my expectations. And that really inspires me. And that's why for me, AI is just this continuous source of new inspiration. And that's where I'm coming from on all of this.
Et je crois que c'est la même chose avec la peinture ou avec la sculpture. En fait, c'est un dialogue entre la matière et l'artiste. Donc, c'est ce dialogue-là qui va faire émerger une œuvre qui est unique, en fait.
Yes.
So somehow, though, in Colin's experiment, this strange character, this dark-colored man, just pops up. How do you explain that?
Language doesn't have the same precision as mathematics. And when large language models are assigning concepts to images and all these other things, you can get outliers. And if all of a sudden an outlier appears, you can run with that. And that then becomes infused, and it becomes a character in the play. And so that's where a lot of people want to narrow down so you don't get as many outliers. And that's where a lot of people, like really promote their prompt engineering, and how do you get to something where you're within a very small contained universe of possibilities. And like I said, to me, that's antithetical to the way I work as an artist. I can't work that way. I find that completely boring. But it's useful if you're trying to create, advertising, or if you're trying to create something that you're going for a very end result. I'm going down into the cave, and I don't know if there's going to be a monster down there, or if I'm going to run into, water, up to my neck, and I'm going to drown or something. I don't know. And to me, that's exciting as an artist.
Et s'il y a un monstre, on descend, on va le chercher et on le fait remonter.
I think also, Michael, like the distinction is whether or not AI is being used for art or for illustration.
Sure.
I find when I'm using it in a commercial capacity, or even to some degree with the Salon graphics, it's really sort of more of an illustration than art. Like I don't really incorporate it into my own art at this point, because it's more like, sort of experimentation, but looking at it from, okay, I have an end result in mind, whereas I see the way you and possibly some of the other artists who presented using it in a much more experimental way, which I think is really, really interesting.
Je voulais ajouter une chose aussi. Je crois que le rôle des artistes, c'est aussi un rôle de lanceur d'alerte. Et travailler avec l'intelligence artificielle actuellement, lui faire dire autre chose, c'est aussi alerter les spectateurs et les aider à développer un sens critique par rapport à ces nouvelles formes d'images. Donc, que les artistes s'en emparent, c'est aussi pointer du doigt les deepfakes politiques, volontairement politiques, les fake news, etc. Donc, en tout cas, dans mon travail, je me positionne aussi en tant que lanceur d'alerte. Montrer tout ce qu'on peut faire avec l'IA, c'est aussi dire aux gens, aiguisez votre regard, soyez plus attentifs, développez plus votre esprit critique.
Yeah, I think that's really something that I found very interesting about your work when I first started looking at a lot of the more recent sort of politically oriented stuff. Actually, I was sort of curious, would you, or you don't really have to answer this, but would you ever consider, or you don't really have to answer this, but ever think about, or consider releasing work anonymously as sort of like an activist, a way of using the work in such a way that, it's provocative as it is when you're signing your name to it, but I feel like as consumers of media, we're also prone to be victim of, the use of deep fakes and other things like that. So, I think about hacker culture and all that other kind of stuff. And, your work definitely makes me think about all that kind of, those sort of tactics, I guess. Is that? Yeah, go ahead.
Je dois répondre. Quelle est la question précisément?
Well, would you ever think of using AI to create work anonymously?
Est-ce que vous avez déjà pensé à utiliser l'IA pour créer des travaux anonymous? Si moi j'ai déjà pensé à utiliser l'intelligence artificielle de manière anonyme, c'est ça la question? Je ne suis pas sûr de comprendre.
Yeah, it's just, I guess when I saw your work, it almost made me feel like if someone was seeing it and they didn't know it was art, they might actually think, oh my God, what is he doing there? What is Mark Zuckerberg doing there? Or what is Trump actually doing there? It's that, to me, convincing that it's really, it functions to me as media activism to some degree, and just my perception of it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's c'est mon objectif aussi, comme je le disais avant d'utiliser, d'être le plus conscient possible des nouvelles technologies pour ne pas être manipulé et esclave de ces technologies et montrer au maximum de nos capacités ce qu'on peut faire avec ces technologies-là de manière drôle ou légère. Mais en tout cas, effectivement, les premières fois où on voit une vidéo réaliste réalisée avec l'intelligence artificielle, eh ben, on est obligé de changer notre programme de tout ce qu'on va voir dans le futur, de tout ce qu'on va entendre dans le futur, de tout ça. Alors, ça peut faire peur, mais plutôt que de se voiler la face et de dire non, je ne veux pas, je pense que c'est mieux de s'en emparer vu qu'on ne peut pas la diriger ailleurs, en tout cas de la mettre, de montrer à un public, au public, qu'on peut faire ça et de le montrer de manière un peu décalée et un peu drôle. Ça lui permet aussi de se dire, OK, là, je suis en train de voir quelque chose de faux. Peut-être que la prochaine fois, quand je verrai une autre vidéo aux informations, je me poserai la question et je développerai encore plus mon esprit critique.
And there are lots of lessons like this in art history. Daumier comes to mind immediately, an artist who had to make a decision how far he was going to stretch his political points of view within his artwork, within his prints, and put them out with his name on. In his case, he didn't really have to put his name on it. Everybody would recognize that it was his work. But it's an interesting point to be at.
All right. Do we have any other questions from the audience or Cynthia?
First of all, let me say it's been a wonderful salon. The concept of breaking AI has come through with each of the presenters, and the breaking suggested to me experimentation, trying to make it the artist's own work rather than what the AI might necessarily produce. And I'm hearing that from the artists that are presenting. But I do have a question for Systaime. In your presentation, you mentioned that AI involves collage, and I think that concept is intriguing. Can you tell me more about how you have used collage in the works that we saw today?
Alors, je parle du collage parce que avant l'arrivée de l'intelligence artificielle, en tout cas l'accessibilité au grand public, j'allais chercher des vidéos, j'allais chercher des formes, je découpais des formes et je les assemblais ensemble, et donc dans un esprit vraiment de collage. Et pour moi, l'utilisation de l'intelligence artificielle, c'est la même chose qui se passe dans mon cerveau, en fait, en tout cas dans mon cerveau de créatif. J'ai l'idée que je voudrais telle image, telle image, telle image, telle image, telle image, mais en fait, au lieu d'aller les chercher ailleurs, je les fais générer par la machine. Donc c'est une forme de collage, c'est-à-dire je vais penser tel élément, tel élément, tel élément, tel élément, et à la fin, effectivement, tous ces éléments vont apparaître, et le collage est fait à travers le texte que je vais écrire. Donc c'est une forme de collage poétique, en fait, aussi. Ça rejoint aussi les dadaïstes, les situationnistes. Pour moi, voilà, c'est en ça que c'est proche du collage. Est-ce que j'ai répondu?
Yeah, in a strange way, that might explain the shadow man that showed up in Colin's illustration.
Yeah, but Colin didn't put the man there. If I understand,
Well, he
Systaime,
didn't consciously put the man there. but maybe AI is to the point where it can read between the lines, so to speak, of what Colin is really thinking about.
True. However, I think Systaime mentioned that he cuts out, and he can correct me, he cuts out elements or shapes that he likes and then marries them to another landscape, if you will, or view, or with other characters. And so that collage technique is, I think, very interesting to me and very powerful.
Deanne, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. About just a comment as well about the man. My husband and I were talking about this recently, and about the hallucinations that come from AI. And so like AI, when you're using it at research, will invent things based on what it thinks is the most reasonable outcome of all the things it's pulled from the internet, whether it's real or not. It thinks that. So I think maybe that man that appeared in Colin's image was perhaps one of those AI hallucinations. And now I'm going to practice a little bit of my French, because I don't get to speak French very often where I'm from. So merci beaucoup pour votre présentation. Je suis vraiment intéressée en la façon que tu utilises IA pour créer des commentaires politiques. C'est comme pour une nouvelle génération, c'est comme les caricatures éditoriales qu'on vu dans les journaux, mais maintenant c'est en vidéo et c'est comme pour mes enfants. Ils vont accéder ces images politiques en une différente medium. Et je suis curieuse si tu as toujours été intéressé en les sujets politiques et sociaux et de l'environnement, ou c'est quelque chose qui a changé avec l'évolution de l'IA.
Donc bon, j'ai toujours eu une partie dans mon travail qui était un petit peu, enfin, je dirais pas politique, mais subversive en fait. Je considère pas ça comme politique parce que j'attaque pas vraiment sur la politique à proprement parler. J'attaque plus sur leur représentation, l'image qu'ils représentent, tout ce qu'ils représentent. Et après, c'est vrai qu'avec avant, je faisais par exemple, j'ai fait une série d'œuvres où je conserve uniquement les silences des hommes politiques dans leur discours. Donc avant, je faisais, bon, c'est classique, mais je coupais, je gardais que ça. Après, j'ai fait des vidéos où je leur faisais dire des choses qu'ils ne disaient pas, toujours en faisant du montage classique. Et puis c'est vrai qu'avec l'arrivée de l'IA, c'est magique de pouvoir les habiller comme on veut, et de pouvoir réagir à leur discours. Par exemple, on a vu une vidéo où il y a Mark Zuckerberg et Trump qui sont dans une espèce de grosse gay pride. C'était juste après que Mark Zuckerberg ait dit que à partir de maintenant sur Facebook, la modération était moindre. Donc, enfin, j'essaie de réagir à ça. Comme tu le disais très justement, un peu comme un polémiste, comme un caricaturiste. Alors, voilà, pas de manière, j'essaie de le faire plutôt de manière un peu drôle, mais je pense que c'est toujours un petit décalage qui va faire que justement les gens vont réfléchir, surtout quand on travaille sur les réseaux sociaux. Pour moi, les réseaux sociaux et Internet, c'est un petit peu comme le street art, c'est-à-dire qu'on va quand même proposer, nous, artistes, un contenu un petit peu décalé à des gens qui scrollent toute la journée sur des contenus sans vraiment se poser de questions. Et le fait que, hop, on est en train de scroller et puis on voit une petite vidéo où on ne s'attendait pas à voir ce propos-là, in situ, fait que peut-être ça fait réfléchir justement les gens sur leur usage. Alors, moi, je ne me positionne pas en tant que moralisateur ou faites ci, ne faites pas ça. je me positionne juste en tant qu'artiste. Et pour moi, un artiste, c'est quelqu'un qui regarde son époque, qui la retransmet à travers ses yeux. Et moi, j'ai fait le choix de le faire en utilisant les outils de cette époque-là. Je pourrais le faire en faisant de la peinture, mais voilà, j'ai envie de pas prêcher dans ma paroisse, d'amener des petits glitches, justement, dans le flux permanent.
Merci.
Merci à toi.
Can I just follow up real quickly? 90 years ago, many of the famous artists that we regard as famous artists were considered degenerate artists by certain political party. And I just think it's important for artists to hold on to their integrity.
Agreed. I think everyone here in this Zoom would also agree with that statement. So we are just about at time. I really want to thank the artist presenters. Really amazing salon, one of the best I think that I've been a part of, and you know, the translation is really amazing. Je n'ai pas parle français. Je suis stupide American. Very helpful. That's basically all of the French that I know, but I was able to see what's going on.
Et je voulais ajouter quelque chose. Merci à toi, Colin, pour ce Zoom-là, et puis pour tout ce que tu fais sur les réseaux avec Techspressionisme. Et merci à Renata aussi, enfin à tous les gens, et merci à tous les gens qui sont là aujourd'hui, à ce moment, à cet instant T. Et c'est super de pouvoir échanger sur ces sujets-là et d'avoir un regard nouveau sur l'évolution de la vie.
Merci. Yeah, awesome. I hope you return, and I hope this opens a door to many more non-English speaking, non-primarily English speaking people, because, you know, we embrace diversity around here. Just a quick note about the next salon. It's going to be, the April salon is going to be on April 3rd, Thursday, as always, from noon to 1:30. And it's going to be a hybrid salon coming from the Cape Cod Museum of Art. And that's a collaboration with the museum and the director, Benton Jones, who recently, you know, they hosted an exhibition of two Techspressionist artists' work, Renata Janiszewska and Karen Lafleur. So this next salon is going to be taking place as a hybrid event at the museum and here on Zoom. And it's going to be basically talking a little bit about Renata and Karen's show, but also I'm going to speak a little bit about the history of Techspressionism for the live audience at the museum. And Tommy Mintz, who curated the show in Brooklyn, who's also curating a show that's going to be opening in Chelsea and Manhattan. Right around the same time, it's going to be the following salon. Actually, the June salon will be in New York. He's going to be coming on and talking a little bit about these exhibitions. So it should be a really good.
Une autre chose qui est importante, ça fait du bien de faire un Zoom avec des femmes artistes aussi. C'est important.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that, you know, that's a big part of what Techspressionism is about, you know, at least, you know, that was something that I thought about initially when starting to curate shows with the group, is that there's a large bias within the art world. Obviously, we're kind of aware of that, slanting towards white males. And so in the exhibitions, you know, I know that I personally have made a great effort to try to be as close to gender neutral as possible, to be as diverse geographically, you know, ethnically, whatever, just in general diverse as possible. And that ties into this idea that Techspressionism could function as a social sculpture in the kind of the conception of Joseph Beuys, where work of art could be, you know, basically using structures in society as a medium to exert change. And I think that that's something that, you know, we're all able to do by being self-directed in the group and, you know, creating our own sort of activities within it, such as exhibitions, group activities and such. So So yeah, very grateful to have all you, all of you artists involved, and, you know, to have this thing keep going. So I'm gonna close the recording out in the just to keep the time limited, but anyone who wants to stick around, you're more than welcome to stay for the after party and to continue the conversation. So once again, I'd like to thank all of the presenters. I'd also like to thank Renata, who's not able to be here with us today, for curating the salon and pulling all of you artists together. I thought there was a lot of synergy. So with that, I am going to stop the recording in 3, 2, 1, and cut.